G'day and welcome to Media Tech Talk. I'm David Richards.
And I'm Paul Luckett. What happens when the future of sales is no longer just about people, but about people evolving alongside intelligent systems? Steve Jones has spent more than 2 decades inside the media and agency world, shaping how sales teams connect, communicate, and close. Today, through Media Sales Academy, he's helping redefine what great selling looks like in an increasingly complex market.
Alongside him is Mick O'Brien, a global technology leader with more than 25 years of experience across software and marketing platforms, including businesses that have scaled into major acquisition moments. Now, as founder of Agentive Group, he's helping organizations embed AI directly into the way they work. So, here's the question. As AI becomes part of sales teams, how do we evolve people, not replace them? Let's find out. Hi, Steve and Mick. Welcome to the show. How are you both?
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Good, thank you, gentlemen.
Awesome. Now, you're both joining us from Sydney today. Have you had a chance to check out the new fish market precinct yet?
I have. I've been down there a couple of times. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's
awesome.
Really, really nice.
No, my youngest daughter went there for a school excursion yesterday. She said there's more live fish there than at the aquarium.
Is that right? Good to hear. Now, just before we get started, I want to share something a little personal with everyone watching and listening. Steve, you were the one who gave me my first role in digital media sales at Fairfax Digital here in Sydney nearly 20 years ago. Just want to say thank you. It means a lot. And it's a real pleasure to have you both on the show to talk about what you've been building now and to help other people lead a meaningful change in the media sales environment. Dare I say, all over again?
Awesome.
No worries, mate. Now, Steve, Mick, you both come from very different sides of the industry. Steve, you're the human side of the media sales environment. Mick, technology and AI. Let's start with you, Jonesy. What's been the thread across your career that's led you to focus on this moment where sales and AI are starting to collide?
For me, when I decided to launch this new business, I spoke to a lot of my friends in the agency side, and I said, look, where is the delta? Where are the gaps in the market? What are the reps like? Was my honest question, and following that, I did a survey. But the general consensus was that reps are doing a pretty fair job, just a fair job, and obviously we don't recruit to get fair people. But for me, one of the things that I've had is 25 years of experience, as you said. I've been working with Mick for predominantly most of that time. He was always on the technology side, creative ad tech solutions back in our Fairfax days, and then data visualization with Datorama in my Programmatic times, and most recently at Rocked, where I was with Daevid Group and introduced Mick into the business. The key thing for me with dealing with Mick over all this time was he always delivered on what he promised, every time. And that's how trust gets built. So our brains, as I've been learning, it's a pattern recognition machine. And over 25 years, Mick's made a lot of deposits into that trust account with myself, but also the businesses that I've been involved in. And over that time, we've played multiple rounds of golf, where we've ideated over 4 hours, no agenda, no pressure. Ideas always just flowed with us. And the one thing that was constant was, we believe in the market really does appreciate good sales reps. When a good sales rep comes in, you're genuinely impressed and you want to work with them. So we've kind of always saw that the human skills were actually what moved people, and that's empathy, storytelling, and deep listening. And they weren't being developed. They were actually just assumed when somebody came into your business as a rep that they were there. So coming together to do what we're doing now wasn't more of a business decision. It was more of an inevitability. Just 2 product offerings, and they're just, absolutely perfectly timed right now, and all of it, everything I'm doing, and obviously Mick, is being reshaped by AI.
Yeah, that's so true. And what about you, Mick? Where sales and AI start to collide, how did that fit into your world?
Thank you, Jonesy, for your kind words. Much appreciated. And thanks for having us today, Paul and David. Well, I started in digital marketing, or the media side of things, in 97, which it's showing my age a little. And during that, I think back about this, and during this time I've been through the dot-com crash, which was pretty exciting and then scary. I've been through the growth of the marketing tech industry. I've been through a public listing in the NASDAQ, and more recently Datorama. There was a startup went through the whole process, building a global team and being acquired by Salesforce. So it's been a fun, challenging journey, and I think now for me it's always been about the gap between what technology can do and how businesses are actually using it. So over that 25-year period, watching sales teams work incredibly hard, talented people, but spending huge amounts of their time on work that technology should have been handling years ago. The thread for me is really leverage. So how do you take great salespeople and multiply what they can do? AI is what I've seen as the first technology that I've seen genuinely answers that question, not in a theoretical way, but in a practical, right now, deploy it this week way.
Mick, I heard a quote the other day. Sorry, not a quote. I saw this on LinkedIn the other day, and I can't remember who shared it. This person really deserves the credit for the post, but it was a presentation given about AI and its current usage. And they, what they said in the presentation was, don't look at AI as robots replacing people. Look at AI as an exoskeleton suit that you wear that makes you superhuman, like the Iron Man suit in Iron Man, for example. Do you think that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I think that our particular business is not about trying to replace humans. It's really being able to look at what is actually happening within the business throughout all the different types of processes. And we've seen recently, the large tech companies who are doing massive layoffs. In our particular business at Agentive Group, we really try to help organisations understand where's the bottlenecks and to be able to use AI to be able to improve efficiencies, be able to give people actually more time back. No one ever liked taking data in one spreadsheet and putting it into another one. And I had a quote recently from a large organisation that up to 30-40% of a sales rep's time is actually allocated towards mundane work, towards repetitive tasks. And these are admin tasks, which really is costing the organisation and costing the rep themselves. And if you're able to look at how could AI make an impact, it's not about replacing them, it's about giving them more time to have really good conversations with their potential prospects and clients.
I was reminded of Archimedes' famous quote on leverage the other day, actually, because just you talking about leverage, I was thinking, I was doing some work myself. Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world. I love that. That's
awesome.
Poignant.
Yeah.
I think as well, sorry, can I point out too, Mick, those are all jobs that sales reps are generally shit at as well. They don't like doing it, and so it creates a bit of angst in their day.
That's a perfect lead into my question, Steve. From your experience, what do you think is not working in sales teams and in the sales world today?
I did a survey. Could be better. So I did a survey last year to the media agencies, working with about 6 of them who are friends of mine, are CEOs or MDs, and just said, look, can you get your guys to respond to these and share it with some of the bigger agencies if you can, who you know. I've got 107 responses back, which I think is a pretty good cross-section of the media agency industry. The areas that really stood out that were quite confronting were 68% of reps don't listen. That's a big communication problem and relationship problem. 64% don't understand where their campaigns fit in the overall media mix. They just concentrate on their one part of the brief. And the shocking stat overall was that 66% of reps overcall. I don't know about you, and I can't say for myself because I've been married for 26 years, but if you go out on a date with somebody and you say, that was great, really good to meet you, let's keep in touch. And then they call you that afternoon, and then they call you the next morning, and then they call you the next afternoon, and they send you an email, hey, haven't heard from you, thought we had a good meeting. I mean, that's such a bad communication with somebody that you're trying to sell to. Like, they're busy people, and I think there's one area there is that the reps don't understand how agencies work 100%. So I think it's training people to be present. We train them to be present and present well, but we don't train them to understand enough. So they're able to articulate their own world really well, but they're almost completely unequipped to inhabit someone else's. And I think that's a huge human disconnect.
And Mick, from your perspective, just talking about those kind of challenges there, and to your earlier point around leverage, do you see AI as being a critical tool in addressing some of those pain points?
Yeah, so as we said at the beginning of this call, I'll talk about the tech. Jonesy will talk about the emotional intelligence. So two things that have changed simultaneously. The capability of AI has crossed a threshold where it can actually understand context, not just process data, but read a sales conversation and tell you what it means in your pipeline. So from the tooling to connect that intelligence to your existing CRM, email, your documents, this has matured significantly to the point where you can deploy these types of processes in weeks, not years, which makes everyone so much more accountable and frees up so much more time. So the combination means the cost of not adopting is now higher than the cost of change. The businesses that we're working with who are moving on this are pulling ahead pretty fast. The ones that are waiting are going to find it very difficult to catch up.
Yeah, Mick, are you seeing that AI acting as a coach or a guide, or is there something else entirely going on here?
I think both. I think but the one that surprises people most is the coaching angle, which Jonesy will be able to chat about more in a moment. When you have a system that analyzes every conversation against your best historical deals, it services patterns that even your most experienced reps haven't consciously articulated yet. So it'll tell a junior rep the last 3 times a prospect mentioned reporting latency as a frustration, the deals that closed or led with real-time dashboard access in the proposal. That's institutional knowledge that previously lived in one senior person's head. Now it's available to everyone, every single time. The rep doesn't just get faster, they get smarter and faster.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I should just point out for everybody listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we've got a visual element to this show, and obviously making sure that we articulate clearly for those listening that can't see parts of this presentation. But you can watch it on YouTube if you want to catch up and see what exactly it is that we'll be talking and stepping through. Just before we get into that, Steve, I just want to ask, could AI accelerate the growth of salespeople, or are you seeing that the fundamentals still has something along the way that needs to be learnt in the old traditional ways?
Yeah, AI can compress the learning loop dramatically, but I still believe only if the fundamentals are right. And you can ask any salesperson what are the fundamentals it's presenting and closing, and those that's something that I completely disagree with. So I've put together what I've called a DNA audit of a salesperson, and in particular in this instance for media sales reps. It's going to show them their default. Where do they? What is their reflex that they flex when they get a problem put in front of them, or particular questions thrown at them? So what is their natural default? And it's actually going to identify more than what going through a post-mortem of a meeting with a client is. This is actually going to tell you what happens in every single meeting and where you're losing business. So let me share my screen, David, and I'll
yeah. Awesome. Let's have a look.
Sure. AI can definitely compress the learning loop dramatically, but only if the fundamentals are right. I believe, Mick and I discussed it the other day. A rep that doesn't know how to sell but is using AI is just faster at being crap at what they do, basically. So what I've done is I've put together what's called the media sales DNA audit. For me, it not only measures what I'm actually putting together in my training modules, but it gives the business something tangible that they can use to look at, hey, not just an individual rep, but this is how our entire team presents. So what the DNA audit is, it's going to tell, it's going to give them self-awareness. And that's the biggest issue that we don't know, that reps don't know and that the business don't know. So reps aren't aware of what fallback defaults that they have are costing them business, costing them good deals. And within that, they go back to the office and they say, hey, presented the deck, client loved it. They said that they're definitely keen to stay in touch. So the sales director doesn't know what's wrong, so they can't diagnose, they can't put together a treatment for that. And then annually they do their big event. They say, hey, this is how we're going to come together as a team. We're going to sell really well together. Here's all of our new products. Get out there, learn them, present them. The world is our oyster. Kumbaya. But then that also gives the opportunity for learning investment to just do some generic sales training. And what are the fundamentals that you asked earlier? They're pitching and closing, presenting. And you don't actually get to see how someone performs in a pressure cooker, so to speak. So I've done a bit of the research on this, and it actually shows that 60% of deals are linked to behaviours that were never measured. So these are those behavioural measures that I work on a lot. And it's costing 3 times more time because they're actually just going by the gut feel when they're actually saying, this is what we need to work on with the team. So it's not diagnostic data that I've put together. And then all of a sudden you've got $0 to spend identifying the gap before investing in the fix. So this DNA audit, if you drop onto the next slide, thanks, it's going to show you what I've put together, why I've put it together. So Mick and I worked on this. We did a lot of work in one of the AI platforms to put together a 31-question behavioural audit that identifies, as I mentioned, that fallback default mechanism that happens in the person's brain when they're in the room. So, and it's actually going to show you where it's costing money. So the 31 questions are all multiple choice. It's gamified, so you can't actually rig the answers. You don't know which ones are the highest points answers. They're so close that they can't actually delineate which one is the right one. They have to go with what they know, and that's what they do in the meeting. And so the 4 core areas that I teach in my course are what we've emphasized here, and that's cognitive empathy, emotional intelligence, pressure composure, and storytelling. People forget 80% of what you tell them 48 hours later in sense of data. But if you tell them a great story, they'll remember it, and it's the way that you present and tell that story. Pressure composure can be as simple as, hey, we can get this cheaper somewhere else. Default position, let me go talk to my boss and see if I can match that rate. As opposed to really going deeper and understanding, asking the right calibrated questions to find out what are you actually looking to measure. Because it might not just be CPM, it might be attention. Emotional intelligence, we all know, having a high EQ, instinctively understanding how to adapt in a meeting. But cognitive empathy is probably one of the biggest skills that I focus on. And that's understanding what the buyer isn't saying. So what tactics, what techniques can you use to uncover those? And I see if a rep is actually using them or not in this 31 question audit. So once a rep has filled out the audit, it's 20 minutes to fill it in. Jump to the next slide, thanks Dave. What it's going to show you is it's a 6-page report. Obviously I've put here the cover, and I've put a bit more detail on the 1-page report that covers pressure composure. But it gives the person's name when they filled it in, job title, etc. And it actually gives them an EQ identity. So this person is a labeler. They're able to label emotions, label how the person is actually feeling that they're sitting across from. And you've got to think from a media buyer's perspective, they're under a lot of pressure right now. It's very hard for them to put their head up and say, hey, I've got a new idea, this looks really good. They're working 12-hour days, and there is high risk that they could be losing their job right now with lots of changes that are happening at an M&A. Areas beyond our control, beyond the rep's control, beyond their control. But then it looks at the actual archetype of the person, and this person is, in fact, a strategic empath. They're able to get onto the other side of the table very quickly, whereas other people are talking about data. They're able to get under the cover and work with them. Then I'll look at the top 4 areas again. It gives you a score and a banding that you sit within. So Sarah's done. She's quite good. She's scored really high on cognitive empathy, and the only area that she hasn't done well in is pressure composure, and that's that. Sometimes they can practice something and then their default, it's like a golf swing. You don't want to swing on your back foot, but you're not practicing enough, so you swing on your back foot. You're not topping the ball. But that comes down to pattern recognition and just repetition, and it actually takes 64 repetitions before something becomes second nature to us. So reps need to understand in this is going to tell them, hey, here's your strength profile. This is where you're really good in pressure composure, where you've come from 3 months ago, you've done the training with the Media Sales Academy, you've been out market for 3 months, and we've actually seen a lift in your performance here. So we're really happy with that. And but it's actually able to identify that in smaller meetings, Sarah performs really well. Composure is great. It's when there's more people in the room, more senior people in the room, that she goes back to her old defaults that are limiting her amount of money she's making, limiting her opportunities to make more commission, limiting the business to hit their budgets. So then it gives you an action plan. So you got to think with 31 questions, 5 answers for each, that's got 10,000 permutations that is calculating. What Mick and I have put together here is a detailed report on each of the modules, but it's going to give a detailed report specific to the person, which is really cool. Now the next part is where it becomes really interesting. And I think as a business, like at an enterprise level, someone quite big, just say they have 100 reps and they say, hey, we're going to have all 100 reps fill in the audit. Now this is going to give them a team diagnostic, and it's going to give them an absolute plan on where they should be focusing their training. So in this instance here, they're getting 63 out of 100 as a total score for all reps. We've got 11 that have scored over 85 that are absolute elite in all 4 trades. These are the people that you should be getting across your wider business and mentoring people. Area for concern, they've got 18 people that are 2+ trades where they're developing. They're no good. Like, this is not a skill set of theirs. And what this actually does, you can actually use this when you can do a good understanding of your business here, you can use this in your recruitment process as well. It's not uncommon now for people to have to do a cognitive aptitude test, do a presentation. I think, a presentation is the most common one in media. It just shows me that someone can read a brief and that they know how to respond to a brief, and that they can present what they presented. Like, doing a presentation doesn't show that you're a great salesperson. Yep. So this actually tackles all of those areas where you need to be looking at. And one on the right in the black there, which is what I really like, is here's your priorities for coaching interventions within your team. So this goes straight back to L&D, and we go, hey, we've got a problem in these 2 areas that need immediate attention. We've got these 18 reps that we know need immediate attention. And it's not about performance, managing them out of a business. It's about performance improving them. So how do we help them understand how to surface questions better, surface objections better, and respond to rejections better? And then down the bottom, it's got, as I mentioned earlier, 11 people that are your elite operators. How do you leverage these guys across your business? This is what your future superstars look like. But I think what this tool does that nothing else is doing right now, it's going to make your recruitment faster. It's going to identify your key areas of your training that really need focusing. And it's also going to show where you're losing money in meetings. Every sales director I talk to says, hey, I know what I'm doing, and I try to sit in the meetings with my team and show them. It's not working. And so that's hence why we've put this together. As I said, you're asking a guy whose nickname was Boomer, my last business, because I'm just not technical. AI has really assisted me in what I need to be doing, and having Mick, like for these guys here, the elite guys, they should be using Mick's tools to be out there selling more, not filling out CRMs, not filling out reports.
Jonesy, can I ask a question? When you speak to the media organisations, what are their current training programs? Are they investing in training today?
Not a lot of people are investing in training. I heard the term, I remember I was lucky enough to get some training a few years ago. So it shows that reps love it. They love it. Yeah. It shows that the business cares about them and is investing in them. But it's something that people just haven't prioritised. And talking to people right now, they're kind of like, yeah, we're super keen. We're just so far behind budget right now. We've had to cut all costs.
It's hard, I think, too, where the industry's changing so quickly, and sales staff specifically have to focus on so many new products. And we've seen evolution from print to digital to now to mobile to television. There's a lot of people who would not be familiar with how to sell all 4 of those. They're quite a craft in their own individual product. But then you've got sub-products that sit inside those. So I find this a really interesting tool, and I think to help sales leaders understand where capabilities are strong and areas that need to be refined is a great tool to help identify those, but also bring training forward in the online space, which is really important.
Yeah, and I think when I look at where this takes us, I always look at when Programmatic came out, it was a big shift in the market. Moving away from TV and now retail media is the next big thing as well. I think we've been looking at the fundamentals of sales being pitching, closing, knowing your product. That's a basic that the sales director should be teaching the team, not me. Now, how to respond to a brief on time, how to respond to a brief, that's stuff that they should be teaching them. But the neuroscience that's coming out and understanding that every person's the same, everyone's wiring our brain is the same, that these techniques actually work. And they're new techniques that haven't been used in Australia yet. They're big in America and big in Europe. So I'm really excited that I've just spent the last 8 months living and breathing this and building this out to be something that's it's going to be quite revolutionary in the market, I think. So and hopefully I know it's taking off, but it's just going to be more and more people actually going to need these skills. And it's the skills that the sales directors talk about all the time. Oh, I'm a great listener. Are your team great listeners? Yeah, that's the big.
One comment I would make is when you look at really great sporting organisations like the AFL, the NRL, and other ones, you have this pathway at the bottom, and where they develop elite skills for juniors as they come through the actual system, and they've been doing this for years, and they're getting better and better at it, and it makes me think in terms of the media organisations at scale that. They're just hiring people based on where they came from, just on their past results. But what this is doing here is allowing you to really understand the traits of the actual person, and do those traits match the leaders in our team? Because you now have the DNA that can say, this is what makes a really great salesperson. And when you look at these elite sporting organisations, they're embedding that training all the way through their juniors, all the way up to first grade. So why is that philosophy not being embedded elsewhere? Just, I need to hire reps, so I'm just going to go hire whoever I can. I'm going to poach whoever I can. But when you build it from the base at the bottom, that's when you build a really great sales organization.
And it's the thing that I really love about this is that it's really focusing on the fundamentals of sales as a skill, right? And like when we talk about product training and capability knowledge and things like that internally at any business, like the sales team should always be trained up on what those capabilities are and understand those things and what those products are. But I think if you build the fundamentals of the sales as a skill, then storytelling, for example, if you're a great storyteller as a salesperson, then it doesn't matter what the product is, as long as you know what the capabilities of the product are, you can tell a good story behind that.
Yeah, you talk to any CMO, the most important thing to them is their brand creative for their big brand initiative for the year. That's what they care about the most. And they care that the connection that the creative agency presented to them with the creative connects with the consumer. But creative agencies, I've been in so many good meetings with MNC Saatchi's of the world, and in Ocean and Endeavour Group, and while I was at Endeavour Group, being in the room there, the creative teams are so good at storytelling, and it just doesn't transfer to media salespeople.
Yeah.
And so I guess with bringing AI into the mix now and having that handle a lot of the responsibilities and tasks, what do you, as a meta question, what do you kind of think the role of the salesperson will be in the future or moving forward? Steve?
Actually, I'll let Mick answer that because it's going to change on my side.
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't seen any bigger revolutionary change that we're witnessing right now when it comes to AI. And every day I'm amazed with the releases of what's happening. So the skills that matter less are the ones that were never really designed for salespeople or sales skills to begin with. Things like data entry, proposal formatting, writing up meeting notes, updating CRM records. This is what takes up 30 to 40% of a rep's time. So those administrative burdens they get loaded onto the salespeople because there's no other better option. Now, AI removes them entirely. What it absolutely cannot replace is the relationship. That is for sure. Being able to read the room, the ability to hear what a client isn't saying and respond to it. That's the skill of being genuinely present in a conversation. That becomes more valuable, not less, because it's the one thing that AI cannot replicate.
Mick, do you want to take us on a walk through what an AI-enabled sales workflow actually looks like today?
Yeah, I would love to. Let me just share my screen. So rather than describe it, let me show you. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens the moment a sales meeting ends inside a business running what we call at Agentive Group, SOS, the AI sales operating system that we've built on top of Claude. This is a real workflow. It's running right now for clients, but I'll narrate every step so it works for anyone listening on audio as well. Okay, so most sales teams have the same problem. Their reps are talented, they're good in the room, they know their products, but they're spending nearly half their week not selling. Writing up meeting notes, updating the CRM, building proposals from scratch, chasing approvals, sending follow-ups that should have gone out the day before. And for a retail media sales team, the problem is even sharper. After every client meeting, someone has to translate a campaign brief into a placement proposal, pull comparable campaign data, build a rate card, coordinate creative approvals, and then 6 or 8 weeks later, compile a post-campaign report by hand. And that's not selling. That's 100% operations. So the SOS sales operating system is what we built to eliminate that gap. The concept is pretty straightforward, actually. Claude, Anthropic's AI, sits at the center of everything a sales team does. Every meeting, the moment it ends, triggers a chain of automated actions. The team gets briefed, the CRM updates itself, the follow-up email is drafted, the campaign proposal is generated, and everything stays behind a human approval gate. Nothing goes out without the rep sign-off or the manager. But here's what makes SOS genuinely different from any other sales AI tool. It doesn't just analyze the meeting. It analyzes the meeting against everything the business already knows, every past campaign, every comparable client, every piece of rate card and performance data in the knowledge base. When a rep walks out of a pitch meeting, Claude has already compared that conversation to every similar deal in your history and told you what to recommend next. So imagine this for your team. A brand manager leaves a meeting having pitched a winter supplements campaign. Before they've ordered their coffee, the team has a Slack summary, the CRM is updated, a personalized follow-up email is drafted, referencing the exact brief the client described, and a campaign proposal is being built with the right placements, the right rate card, and a comparable campaign result that speaks directly to the client's ROI question. That's not theoretical. That's what I'm going to show you in this demo. This happens right now. For your account managers, SOS means that the admin between meetings disappears. They're in the next pitch, not catching up on the last one. For your head of sales, SOS means pipeline visibility is real. Deal stage moves when something actually happens and not when someone remembers to update the CRM. And for the business, SOS means a sales team of 5 operates with the output of 8 without burning anyone out in the process. Here's what this means in practice for your team. And everything you're about to see was triggered by a single 45-minute client meeting. Wow. By the time the rep drives back to the office, it's already done. Okay, I want to make this concrete, so let me give you a real, fictitious scenario. Pinnacle Media Group is a retail media company based in Sydney. They manage campaign placements for supply brands across 340 pharmacy grocery locations nationally. Digital screens in the health aisle, at the pharmacy counter, in store windows. Have you ever noticed screen advertising a product right next to where that product is shelved? That's the kind of work Pinnacle does. Sarah Chen is their head of sales. Jake Morrison is one of her senior account managers. They just walked out of a 45-minute discovery call with Tom Nugent, Head of Trade Marketing at Yellow Moors. Yellow Moors is a premium vitamins and health supplements brand, distributed through 600 pharmacy and grocery locations nationally. Tom is looking to run a winter campaign for a new vitamin D and magnesium range. Budget in the range of about 180K over 90 days. He wants pharmacy first placements, and he's been burned before. His last media partner took 6 weeks to deliver campaign results. He needs real-time performance data, and the CFO approval is required for anything over 100K. The meeting went well. Tom is interested. Here's what happens the moment Sarah and Jake walk out of that room, without either of them touching a keyboard. This slide sets the scene before any tool appears on screen. Rather than assuming the audience already knows what Pipedrive is versus Salesforce, or why you'd use Fathom instead of Gong, this slide gives everyone a shared reference point in plain language. It's organised into 4 categories that mirror how a modern sales team actually works. The tools that capture meetings, the CRMs that manage deals, the communication and document tools where the real work gets written and sent, and the AI layer that connects them all. The key message it sets up, one worth saying out loud when you land on it, is that SOS doesn't ask your team to adopt a new platform. Every tool on this slide is something a sales team is likely already using or has at least heard of. What SOS adds is the intelligence layer that sits between them, making them work together instead of in isolation. Okay, so the first thing that happens, actually it's already happened while Sarah and Jake are still saying goodbye to Tom, is that Fathom, the AI note taker, has finished processing the recording. Fathom joined the call as a silent AI note taker, which by the way could be an app on your mobile phone or in an online meeting. Here's the full transcript, every word, time-stamped, speaker labelled. You can see Sarah, Jake and Tom's contributions distinctly. Fathom generates a solid meeting summary on its own, but for SOS, the summary isn't the point. We want the raw transcript. Because the moment the call ended, Fathom sent an automated notification to our workflow engine. The notification is triggered. Everything you're about to see happens in the next 90 seconds. Why does this matter? Every sales team has discovery calls. The transcript exists. The question is, what do you do with it? Fathom is just the input. SOS is what happens next. Okay, let's go back. Okay, on screen, this is the N8N, the automation layer that connects everything together. The moment Fathom's notification arrives, the workflow fires. It takes the full 47-minute transcript and combines it with Pinnacle's knowledge base, their pharmacy placement rate cards, past campaign performance data by product, category, a company profile for Yellow Moors. All of that goes into Claude simultaneously. From Claude's analysis, the workflow fans out to 4 places at once. Slack to brief the sales team, Pipedrive to update the deal record, Gmail to draft the follow-up to Tom, and Notion to build the campaign intelligence page. The distinction I want to draw here is important. Claude is not just summarising what was said in the meeting. Claude is reading the conversation in the context of every campaign Pinnacle has ever run, every comparable product category, every rate card and performance benchmark in their system. That's what makes the output really useful rather than just descriptive. And why does this matter? Most automation just connects tools. SOS connects tools with intelligence. The workflow is the plumbing. Claude is the thinking in the middle. Here's Slack. We have lots of different communication tools. In this instance, we'll use Slack. The message arrived in Pinnacle's sales pipeline channel with 90 seconds of the Yellow Moors call ending. Sarah's meeting, the wider account team, everyone relevant sees this before Sarah has driven out of the car park. Let me read you the key sections. At the top of the meeting, Yellow Moors, Tom Nugent, Head of Trade Marketing, duration, 47 minutes, deal type, new campaign, winter season. Campaign brief captured, new vitamin D and magnesium range launch, targeting pharmacy channel, 90-day window, preferred placement in pharmacy counter and in aisle screens, budget signal, approximately $180,000. Launch target, early May to capture winter vitamin buying window. Then the intelligence layer. This is Claude's output, not a transcript summary. CFO approval required for anything above $180,000. Flag early in proposal process. Tom's primary objection risk, reporting latency. His previous media partner delivered results 6 weeks post-campaign. Pinnacle's real-time dashboard is the lead differentiator. Foreground it in the proposal and in the follow-up email. Recommended media placement package, Pinnacle Pharmacy Premium, 340 locations, pharmacy counter screens plus in-aisle placement, creative production included, comparable campaign reference, VitaForce Winter Vitamin Campaign, Q3 last year, achieved 23% basket attachment uplift on identical placement configuration. Automated outputs, follow-up email drafted in Gmail, campaign intelligence page created in Notion, deal record updated in Pipedrive. That basket attachment figure, 23% uplift, came from a campaign in Pinnacle's own network. Same placement type, same product category. Claude surfaced that automatically from the knowledge base. Sarah didn't have to dig for it. It's already in the Slack message, the follow-up email, and in the proposal draft. Why does this matter? Because Sarah's manager knows the deal brief, the recommended package, and the key risk flag before they've spoken to Sarah. Real pipeline visibility starts from the moment the meeting ends, not when someone updates the CRM record. Over in Pipedrive, our CRM, the Yellow Moors deal record has been created and populated automatically. Deal stage, discovery complete, deal value, $180,000, has the contact details, confirmed budget authority, up to $180,000. CFO is flagged as required sign-off above threshold. Campaign brief added from the transcript, and it has next action items created, discovery blueprint, and campaign proposal. Due in 24 hours, assigned to Jake Morrison. Yellow Moors as a company is also enriched. 600 distribution locations, pharmacy and grocery split, current campaign season context, key product lines. So for anyone listening at home, the average account manager spends 30 to 40 minutes after every meeting entering exactly this information manually. Across a 5-person team running multiple active deals, that's a significant amount of selling time spent on data entry. Gone. And why does this matter? Because CRM accuracy is only as good as the discipline of the person who last updated it. SOS removes that variable entirely. The deal record reflects what actually happened in the meeting, not what the rep had time to enter before their next call. Here's the follow-up email, sitting in Jake's drafts, ready to review and send. Let me read you the opening line and paragraph. Hi, Tom. Thank you for your time today. The brief described pharmacy first real-time performance data. May launch for the vitamin D magnesium range is exactly the kind of campaign our network is built for. The frustration you mentioned with your previous partner's 6-week reporting lag is something we hear consistently, and it's specifically what drove us to build our real-time dashboard into every campaign as a standard, not as an add-on. I've attached 2 documents for your review. A discovery blueprint that maps what we discussed today to our pharmacy placement network and proposed configuration, and a case study from a comparable winter vitamin campaign we ran last year. That campaign achieved a 23% uplift in basket attachment rate using the same pharmacy counter and in-aisle placement combination we're recommending for Yellow Moors. Given our May launch window and the CFO approval timeline, I'd like to get a formal campaign proposal to your hands by Thursday with a 30-minute call on Wednesday to walk through the placement options before I send the proposal work. I'll have pricing options ready to discuss. Claude wrote that note.
Mick, can I ask, was that email generated by AI as well?
100%.
So at what point have we had somebody, like this is just spinning me out. So we've obviously recorded the meeting with the sales rep. It's uploaded. At what point between that upload to now has there been a person involved in this process?
So right now everything's been created and fired, and this is a draft sitting in Tom's inbox.
This is amazing.
Sorry, Jake's inbox.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Jake can look at the email. He can, and one thing here is that salespeople forget things.
Yeah.
And what we'll see inside here is Claude doesn't forget things. It analyzes and it's put everything inside the draft ready for ready for Jake to send it. So what we're seeing here is that Claude wrote this, not Jake. The reporting frustration reference, the May window acknowledgement, the CFO timeline flag, the VitaForce benchmark, every specific detail came directly from what Tom said in that meeting. Jake reads it, decides whether he wants to adjust anything, and hits send.
Okay.
We'll go to the next screen.
Yeah.
And here's the Notion page. This is where the intelligence layer becomes fully visible. This isn't a meeting summary. This is Claude doing the pre-work for Jake's proposal. At the top, Yellow Moore's campaign brief, confirmed from the transcript, winter season vitamin D, magnesium launch, pharmacy first, $180,000, May start date. Then scroll down, comparable campaigns. Claude has pulled the 3 most relevant campaigns from Tom's history. Looks at VitaForce, vitamin D campaign, Q3 last year. Second one looks at Nordic Naturals style fish oil brand, and then looks at the third one. Claude's recommendation, prepare an ROI model as part of the proposal. Lead with real-time dashboard access as the headline differentiator. That resolves Tom's most explicit concern. Frame pricing in terms of cost per pharmacy visit, not total spend. Get verbal buy-in from Tom before the formal proposal lands on the CFO's desk. This is deal strategy, generated in 90 seconds from a transcript and a knowledge base. Jake would have arrived at most of this eventually, if he was smart enough, but it would have taken a senior person to dig through all the old campaign data, probably an analyst, and probably 2 hours of proposal prep. SOS surfaces this immediately. So this matters because the intelligence layer is the SOS differentiator. Every other AI tool analyzes the call, but this analyzes the call against everything the business already has and produces strategy, not just summaries. As we scroll through, we'll move to what comes next, which is the blueprint. So we'll go to the next slide. One moment. So from the Notion intelligence, SOS generates the first client document, the campaign discovery blueprint. This is a structured 3 to 4 page document that maps what we heard from Tom against Pinnacle's network can specifically deliver. You can see it here. It's formatted on Pinnacle's letterhead, properly structured. There's a section on Yellow Moore's campaign objectives, a section on the recommended network configuration, and a preliminary timeline aligned to Tom's May launch window. This document has one job. It goes to Tom as proof that Pinnacle listened, that they understood the brief, that the campaign proposal coming next isn't off the shelf. It's a difference between a media company that pitches packages and one that genuinely understands your campaign objectives. Writing this from scratch would take a senior account manager at least an hour and a half minimum. Jake reviews it, adjusts anything that needs a human touch, and sends it. That's the only step. So the blueprint is important because it does 2 things simultaneously. It builds trust with the client and it forces internal clarity on whether the team actually understood the brief before writing a commercial proposal. The actual campaign proposal itself is on the right. The executive summary, go back to that one. The executive summary stated with Tom's objectives, pharmacy first winter campaign for vitamin D. Every Pinnacle campaign includes real-time performance access data, weekly summary reports with full ROI analysis, placement selection offers Pinnacle Pharmacy Premium, talks around about pharmacy plus grocery, adds 180 grocery health aisle locations. So what we're seeing here is the ROI model page is the critical element. Every retail media company loses deals because the CFO asks for a business case and the account team scrambles to build one. SOS pre-builds this from a comparable campaign data. The CFO meeting goes from, can you send me numbers, to a conversation that's already been framed. And the final step we see here is the approval gate. So one thing I want to be completely explicit about is that the SOS system does not send anything to a client without human approval, ever. Everything you've seen, the follow-up email, the discovery blueprint, the campaign proposal, sits behind this approval gate. Jake gets the Slack notification. He reviews the documents. He approves, requests changes, or sends it back for revision. The system prepares. The account manager decides, human in the loop by design. And why does this matter? Because it addresses the question every sales leader asks. How do we make sure AI doesn't send something to a client that hasn't been reviewed? The answer is structural. Nothing leaves without a human decision. And finally, what we have here is the morning pipeline report. Every morning at 7 a.m, Sarah gets this pipeline report. Every active brand deal, current stage, last qualifying activity, day since last contact, a risk flag for anything that's gone quiet. You can see yellow more sitting at the top, discovery complete, 180K proposal pending, below that various stages. Here's the critical point. Every data point in this report comes from a real event. A meeting held, an email sent, a document opened, not from an account manager remembering to enter it manually. You can see the flags column on the far right with custom events such as CFO Gate. For Sarah, as head of sales, this means she has a true picture of the pipeline before her first team call of the day without asking anyone for an update. And why does this matter? Because pipeline reports built from rep self-reporting are structurally unreliable. We know that. I've managed loads of sales teams. Reps are optimistic. they're busy. SOS builds the pipeline view from actual activity signals. The numbers Sarah sees reflects what actually happened. And when a brand deal goes quiet, the system catches it before anyone has to ask through the alerts. So what we've seen from a 45-minute meeting to a fully briefed team, one meeting, 90 seconds, 6 outputs. This isn't the future of sales. It's happening right now. That's SOS, the AI-powered sales operating system.
That was awesome. Awesome. That dashboard at the end there, that's kind of built using Claude, right? You're not using any kind of Luckett Studio or anything on the front of that. That's all in Claude.
That's correct. It's using the tools that we went through initially, N8N. Claude acts as the brain that's able to create all that intelligence layer.
Yeah.
And then being able to orchestrate that to the other systems.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to really reiterate as well, is that, with the solution that you're building and using N8N as workflow automation, it's like, media would talk about like headless commerce or headless this, and it's, products that are designed to work regardless of whatever solution, a client is using. And so that's how you've designed this, right? This is the plumbing can plug into any, of the products or solutions that a client is using already.
That's correct. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Claude. If a media organization is using the Google suite, you have great models there as well, using Gemini and so forth. OpenAI, Microsoft now has partnerships with Claude as well. Claude, I think, we've seen the advancements that Claude has been making, and that's our go-to. The intelligence layer is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's the one thing that I've seen kind of feedback over the years working in media is just the simple thing of pipelines not being updated correctly with, prospects or anything that's happening out there in the market. Like if there's an event that happens and there's a lot of inbound, that's not being tracked properly and all these kind of things. So would you say it's kind of definitely solving that problem?
100%. I think for organizations now, it's not an if with what we've gone through today, and they might not take it to this full extent. It's when are you going to start utilizing these tools? Because if you don't, your competitors will. That is a fact. And I think the year of 2026 is a year that we'll see a lot of advancements within organizations that adopt AI as tools to be able to automate a lot of these processes.
With the part of the process there where it's looking at the conversation that's recorded, it's looking at the prior campaign and everything that's worked before, and then coming up with recommendations on what to propose now. Is there a risk there that, because a lot of what's being talked about at the moment is around critical thinking skills and around people using AI in a way that's outsourcing thinking rather than using it to empower thinking? Do you see that as a potential risk of salespeople relying on those suggestions and then kind of losing their ability to actually come up with those things on their own?
I wouldn't. Let me answer it this way. I see it as accelerating it without question. The argument that AI replaces experience misunderstands what experience actually is. Experience is a pattern recognition built over time. AI compresses that timeline. So a rep with 2 years in the field who has access to the intelligence layer that we're building, that we've just shown, the institutional knowledge of every deal that the business has ever run, can now operate with judgment of someone with 10. That's really the difference. It's not replacing experience. It's democratizing it. The businesses that figure this out first are going to build sales teams that punch well above their weight.
Yeah.
And Mick, can this look at avails as well?
I mean, it can look at anything, and I think what's really key is, like, good data in is good data out, and also the saying is bad data in is bad data out. But most people have got their data structured pretty well now, whether it's sitting on a data lake, and that's all it needs. Like, you need to be able to, board needs to be able to access the data, to look at historical performance data, and then be able to also access availabilities. Now, in this analysis, that's exactly what happened, or Claude did. It looked at historical campaign performance data, but it's also looking forward into what's available. And that's just another data point. And so you think for the rep, the steps that the rep has to do to look at the historical and then look at the future, this is all happening automatically now. You're giving the rep so much more time to have conversations around building relationships versus the 30-40% of these admin tasks to perform their job.
Yeah, it's a great point around the avails. You reminded me of some of the examples I've seen over the years of automation platforms in ad operations and how they're seeking to kind of close that gap and automate a lot of that trafficking process. But what a lot of them aren't able to, or historically weren't able to do, is to really bring in, to take account for the nuance and the context that happens within, for that particular publisher environment. You take my former employer, News Corp. I mean, that's, the range of products that they sell from a digital advertising perspective, and the different combinations of those products, and how you've got to test a rich media skin, desktop skin versus how this, a standard display or a video, like there's just, everything is so unique and different. And I think that kind of, that contextual piece and that nuance is something that has been missed in the past, which you made the point earlier around AI being able to really kind of ascertain context for right now. It seems like we may be in a step change in automation, sales, and operations.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Paul. Like, I've been working in tech for many years, 20 odd, and it's always about, people will talk about AI. Me too, but not the way that we talk about it now. And that's the difference. The world's smartest computers, Claude, OpenAI, being able to put that on top of your data that's where things change. And that's the difference that has not been able to happen in the past. Exactly what you just said. You have so many different types of formats, so many different types of availabilities. You need something super smart that can actually piece all that together and orchestrate it, and then make the recommendations. And that's happening. That's what Claude is enabling.
Yeah,
I think it's also it's a internal relationship builder as well, because and probably my ops people that I've worked with might hate me for saying this. I love them all dearly, but there is pressure between sales and when they need things and when ops can actually get to them, and it creates pressure can create diamonds, but quite often it just creates angst amongst the team, and this solves that.
Yeah, there's so many smart ways. Like you can have it connected in, if you're using Slack or if you're using Google Chat, you can have that connected into those channels. So instead of going to the ops manager to ask for availabilities, I go to the ops chat in Slack and I say, what's the availabilities on XYZ placement? And it returns the answer. That's freeing up. When you think about the time that took previously, whether that was 20, 30, 40 minutes of having to contact someone, and then that person had to do the availables lookup, that doesn't happen anymore. So you've just given back small bits of time to multiple people.
I don't know if you heard that. That was the sound of millions of campaign managers breathing a massive sigh of relief.
The love-hate relationship between salespeople and campaign managers.
Yeah. And Steve, kind of what you were taking us through earlier around your training piece, like how do you see that kind of working together with SOS as far as like training those skills as well as taking away some of those pain points from an operational perspective?
Obviously, I mean, it's handling the big cognitive load, does all the prep for you, all the follow-up, and I think that's actually freeing up the reps to be fully present in the human moment. And it creates that space for them for a more genuine connection, not less. And relationship building is about being present. And if you're buried doing work that you don't love doing 40% of the week, you're actually not able to make those calls, get those sales meetings that you require, and not just the total quantity of meetings, it's the quality of meetings. You're actually prepared more for them, having AI assist you in building out all of this capability that you require. And I think Mick said, like, reps don't, when they're making notes, they might miss something as well in the meeting, and sometimes the last word that the client says is the most important one. If you're busy writing or in your iPad, or you're remarkable, looking good, using the latest tech, you're not actually listening enough.
Yeah, it's so true, because every meeting I go into now, I ask for permission. I turn on my AI note taker, and I sit there and engage in the conversation. I don't have a pen in my hand. I don't have anything. Literally, eye-to-eye contact and engage and talk. And it's so different when you do that, knowing that you're going to get so much more information through the AI note taker. And I've never had anyone say, no, don't record the call, because the way I frame it is, this is going to help me come back to you with understanding what we're talking about today.
I mean, I love that. The thing I was just thinking about was, I mean, I would love to have my little, avatar version of Paul Luckett, who's sitting there recording the conversation, also kind of pop up every now and then and be like, hey, don't forget to ask this question. Because, I mean, you get into the flow of the conversation, you kind of get a little distracted and you forget some of these key questions that you meant to ask. I know I do that all the time, so that would be good.
Yeah, and I think some of it's incredible the training that a rep could get from this, because what you saw in the demonstration was a couple of critical points that were made. Things like around the reporting was an issue. For Tom, the CFO gate, certain things that sometimes reps forget. And so if they go back and they've missed out this piece about, I forgot about the CFO, and they're sending the proposals, and it's above 100K, but I haven't checked with the CFO. You're getting better by having the AI record and give you the advantage. And so you naturally will get better at this in the future as a salesperson. The next time that I'll ask the question, oh, by the way, does the CFO need to approve above a certain level? So I think that's also what you can take out of this, is it will help train people to become better.
Yeah. Well, I would love to continue talking about this for another few hours, because I think this is all awesome stuff. I think, as you guys talked about before around, relationships being a vital piece of the puzzle moving forwards for everybody, really, but in particular for salespeople. And if you start from that premise of relationships being king and SOS taking away that cognitive load around the admin side of things, it's freeing those guys up through the better sales training that you're doing, Steve, to be better at building those relationships.
Absolutely.
Well, Steve Jones, founder of Media Sales Academy, and Mick O'Brien, founder of Agentive Group, thanks for joining us today on the show. And for everybody else watching or listening here in Australia and around the globe, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Media Tech Talk.
Hi, I'm Damon Reed, CEO of Ozone. I started my career at 9MSN right at the beginning of digital media. Since then, I've been building publisher networks, scaling Programmatic at OpenX, and now leading Ozone, a platform focused on connecting advertisers with premium audiences at scale. Next on Media Tech Talk, we'll explore how the industry has evolved, what we've learned from Programmatic, and why premium curated environments are becoming more important than ever. So here's the question. How does starting out at 9MSN lead to building companies like OpenX and now Ozone? And what is it that makes those businesses successful today? Join me in the conversation that's inspiring media minds. That's next on Media Tech Talk.